The topic that dominated the Twitter sphere yesterday, other than likes being private now for whatever reason, Patrik Laine. He would like a fresh start, Charlie. Of course he would.
I mean, I really haven't dove too closely into the situation, but was he like in rehab, or was it like mental health problems he was dealing with?
He is in the player.
He's in the player. I just didn't know if it ever got reported the specifics.
January 28th, he was admitted in the player assistance program. He has spoken up about mental health issues in the past.
Okay.
And a lot of the time when this shit comes out, it's like with the Kuznetsov thing, like, yeah, man, dude's doing a little too much blow.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, with the Kuznetsov thing, that was evidence. Yeah, there was straight up evidence, and it was an open secret in league circles that, like, this guy is a really good player who has a drug problem.
Yeah.
I have not heard anything about that with Laine, but I also haven't dug into it at all.
A lot of the time, I tried to, like, just look into it a little last night, just see what's, like, publicly available. A lot of the time, this shit comes out, whether it's drugs, drinking, whatever it might be. There is no specific here.
Yeah.
So whether it is just like an anxiety thing, whatever, any sort of mental,
could be a couple things,
any number of things, it has not come out. And as far as I can tell, he is still in player assistance.
Yes, still. But it seems like the report that we heard yesterday was that he wants a fresh start somewhere else, which would imply that he's probably getting close to leaving the player assistance program. Yes. And when he leaves the player assistance program, he wants to be in a different locale, which honestly, like, good for him. Like, especially, and again, I don't know, but especially if it's a drug problem, being in a different location can help a lot.
It certainly can. My question now, and like Patrik Laine is a name, like you brought it, like, do people even actually care anymore? Like, he's just a name we've been talking about since the Giroux era.
Yes.
Like, this guy who scored like 40-some goals his sophomore year is going to be available, and we need a goal-scoring winger for Claude Giroux. Yes, please. And he's just kind of been a name on Flyers fans' minds for, it seems like, his entire career.
There's also the fact that Flyers fans, I've wondered if this is just a Flyers fan thing or if it's an every fan base thing, but Flyers fans, especially those online, they're obsessed with snipers. Obsessed with snipers.
Crazy.
And Patrik Laine is a sniper. So he's the guy that a lot of people want because they want goal scorers.
Yes. My question, though, is Patrik Laine actually good?
He is good. He is a good scorer. And actually, the last full season he played, his underlying metrics were like finally pretty decent.
And like his passing number and stuff like good. But here's what I'm looking at right now with Patrik Laine. His goals per game average over the last 4 seasons comes out to a 31-goal pace. Certainly a nice number.
It's good, but it's not elite.
It's not elite. Yeah. It's not the what's he 2 years left at $8.7 million.
That's a lot.
That's I don't know about all that for 31.
I don't think he's worth
We're talking about that number for TK. Like, that's the same, like 31. His goals per game pace is well above that.
Yes.
Especially with the time he's missed.
Yes.
Laine has played 175 games in the last 4 years. He's missed 127. That's about 42% of the last 4 seasons he hasn't played for any number of reasons. Some of this in his control, some of it, but like just has not played.
It's a fact.
He did 42%. That's a huge number. He scored 80 goals as a teenager, his first 2 years in the league. Now 26, he's scored 124 in the last 6 years. He has come nowhere close to the productivity those first 2 years in Winnipeg. He just hasn't been that guy, whether it's for missing time, shooting percentage not the same, teammates not the same, whatever it is, he's not the 36 to 44 goal scorer he was those first couple of years.
Or at least he hasn't been.
He hasn't been. What's he worth? Like, I think the Flyers do need, and we're going to talk about other reclamation projects in a second, especially with the route they're taking. We're not going to tank. We're probably not going to have many top 5 picks. Mm-hmm. The one top 5 pick we had, he ain't here no more. We swapped him out for a dude who went 6, so I guess technically that's fine. Michkov, I guess, should have gone top 5, but he's Russian, so he didn't. But we're not going to have those guys probably not going to be drafting those dudes. So you need to find stars in unconventional ways. Yeah. Reclamation projects are a way of doing that.
That's true.
But what's this one going to cost you? Like,
I would have to think it's not going to cost that much.
That's my thing. Like, I would like to go out and get Patrik Laine. I'm not giving up pick 12 for him.
No, that would be insane. His value is very clearly dropped. Plus, I mean, there is the uncertainty of whatever he dealt with this year. And like, I'm not going to like ding a guy if he had like a depressive episode or if he has a drug problem that he's working through and now he's sober. Like, good for him. I'm really happy that he's working through this and hopefully he comes out on the other side. But it doesn't change the fact from a team building standpoint that it adds another risk factor. You know, okay, well, I hope if he had a drug problem and he's sober, great. But like, not everybody stays sober. It does add a risk factor to it. And that's setting aside the fact that his productions went down. So to me, like if Columbus makes this trade, I would think they're going to have to retain some salary, number one, because he's certainly not worth $8.7 million a year for the next 2 years. So they're going to have to retain some salary. And I don't think anybody's given up like a first round pick at this point. Maybe like a second.
In this draft in particular, where we're like, after, let's say, 16, it's basically a second round pick.
Yeah.
Would you give up number 32 for him?
Probably not. But I don't love the fit because, like, he did play for Torts the 1 year in Columbus. I don't think it went great. But even setting aside the Torts thing, like, and I've been saying this for a while, the Flyers need playmakers. They don't have enough playmakers. I don't think they need another one-dimensional goal scorer, even if he has a talent to be a really good one-dimensional goal scorer. I want guys that can get the puck to Owen Tippett and can get the puck to Tyson Forrester and eventually can get the puck to Matvei Michkov, not a guy who is the guy you get the puck to. So I don't love the stylistic fit regardless of everything else, personally.
See, I understand that. I just think the Flyers are so desperate for talent right now.
It's fair.
It's like, bring in a dude who might be great. Might be. Probably not, because this is, like year 8 for him. But let's see. Let's figure it out. And then if we are overstocked at this one player archetype, make trades then.
It's fair.
Like then you figure out the other holes, because now we know who's going to stay, who's worth keeping, and who isn't. I get the idea, like, yeah, ideally we need a playmaking center. Ideally we need a big puck-moving defenseman. Like, these are the things that are absolutely necessary.
Right.
But talent is talent.
Yeah,
they need guys who can help them put the puck in the net more than the other team. They don't have a ton of those guys. I would be willing, like I was thinking last night, it's Columbus. We have their second round pick. Lawton, and you can keep it. Lawton, you can keep your second this year, next year, whenever you're going to give it to us. Don't worry about it. And pick a dude off the Phantoms. Like, if it's something like that, where it's just pieces moving things around that don't, and I realize that sounds like Hagen a third. It's going to maybe cost a little more than that. But just like, if it's not a premium asset, if it's a cup, if it's a thing here and a thing there, I would love to see them make that happen, with the understanding that, one, there's going to be some salary retention, and two, this isn't like, oh, here's our savior. This is a tryout for this guy. Yeah. And even after there's this year, next year left on his contract, fuck it, buy him out if it sucks after next year. See ya. Like, I have absolutely no problem with that on a tryout sort of basis.
I think I am lukewarm on the fit. I'm lukewarm on the player. I've never been a huge Patrik Laine fan.
You've never, yeah.
I don't like one-dimensional goal-scoring wingers. I know a lot of people in the fan base do. I don't. I prefer playmakers and guys that drive play, and Laine is not that. However, I could be convinced. Like, if the Flyers trade for Patrik Laine, I could convince myself that, like, yeah, I see the logic in it. It's just not a move I would personally do.
Yeah, again, obviously, you want everyone to be a well-rounded player. Like, that's the goal, sure. I just look at, like we talked about with Hellenius yesterday.
Right.
Say you have this heady, good two-way center. Maybe he's got the offensive upside of a 70, 80-point guy, but worst case scenario, he's a really strong 2C for you. Put the one-dimensional goal-scoring winger with him, and boom, you have like a pretty good line.
Right.
Like you at least 2/3 of what could be a well-rounded line that could do multiple things.
The Finnish connection.
Yeah, there you go, right there. Maybe they could help each other. It's just like, I understand where you're coming from. I just am so desperate for talent on this team. And I don't know if Patrik Laine is the answer. Again, he doesn't play that much. He doesn't score at the rate he did 6 years ago. Maybe a change of scenery is what he needs to be that guy again. Or maybe he's just a 30-goal scorer if he can play a full season, which is doubtful.
He is only 26.
That's the like.
It feels like he's older than he is
because we've been talking about him for 6 of the 8 years of his career as potentially coming to Philly, and like he's been moved around. He's been a headline kind of guy.
I don't think the Flyers ever were really seriously in on him.
No,
this was entirely a Twitter
like
obsession.
We talked about yesterday. This was entirely fan driven.
Yes.
I don't think the Flyers have ever been particularly high on the dude. I just think it's like. One, it's a headline. I want to talk about a headline.
Sure.
I want to put Patrik Laine's name in our show headline today because it's what everyone's talking about. It's all about them numbers, baby. Keep them paychecks coming. But like, I do think the Flyers are in a unique position where they have told us this year ain't the year we're going all in on anything. That means it's another year of experimentation. It's another year of figuring things out. Here is a dude who's in a situation where things need to be figured out about him.
Yeah.
Why not do it here?
Yeah. I guess, as I said, I could convince myself. It's just not, if I was a general manager, Laine would not be someone I would prioritize, but I could convince myself that it makes sense.
We all silly like the mayor.